Welcome to the TryPod, where we break down the NRL every game, every week from a punting perspective. The finals are here, guys, and I know I should be up and about after how we concluded the regular season, but I'm actually sick. So I'm a bit crook, bit under the weather, but of course I'm still here, despite doing it for free and not feeling good. I was cooking last week nonetheless, right? I mean, that was probably saving our very best till last. Not a sweep because we actually lost Thursday night, the game you can see on the screen. But when you go 6-1, that's the most profit on best bets of any round this season. That beats even a 4-0. I know people message me and say they multi the best bets and stuff, but you're playing it as singles. I mean, actually, you did have a 6-leg multi to close the season as well. 6 straight winners. That's the 11th straight TryPod season. Again, sorry, forgive my throat. It's not really from cheering on those 6 winners, but it did feel good to close the regular season 57 and 38. That's 3 winners for every 2 losers on this season, on this show, all season long. The mathematicians among you are going to know that 3 wins for every 2 losses is 60% on the dot, right? Which is the holy grail of two-way market tipping. So I had a bad year last year, and I own that. I think that's fair to say. And I told you straight up, I'll give it away if I couldn't prove I was still profitable this season. And profitable means even marginal profit. If you're having fun, if you're enjoying this pursuit, and you end up $1 ahead, I think it's still worth it because the odds start against you. So if you can overcome the bookie edge, then you're doing something right. But we haven't just got a marginal profit, we've smashed it and we've finished strong. And that's 10 winning years out of 11 for the TryPod. If you're counting at home, we've had 8 60% or better seasons. And I mean, I defy anyone to find anyone in any sport that's got a record that long or that prosperous, and it's all free, of course. And I say that humbly, knowing that I could lose this week. I've got 2 best bets. I could lose the next 4 weeks. There's only 9 games left all year, but it's important to acknowledge great results and celebrate them because they're not easy to achieve. I know that more than anybody. I will speed round last week so I can talk about which games we won. I can talk about the sharpshooters, and I'll let you know their season records as well, guys. And we'll do future odds as well, like premiership odds and stuff at the end of the show. Why don't we begin with best bets for this week then? The 2 I already teased. And 2 out of 4 is not too bad, right? Let me know what you think of these ones. I'm going to start with the opening game of the week 1 of the finals, and I'm going to play Dogs Storm under 38.5 at $1.91 on 365. Important you play it on 365 because they settle that bet at 80 minutes. And in extra time in the finals, you can actually get like 10 minutes of play, right? And you can actually get 4, 6, 8, 10. You can theoretically get 3 more tries, right? So I don't want to get burned by that for an under. And the beauty of that is as well, whatever, it's between 19 all. And then someone could win 2019, but we just need under 38.5 points within the 80 minutes. Can't get burned extra time. Best 2 defenses in the comp, right? I don't really need to go into much more than that, but I will when I dissect that matchup. And then I'm going to play Brisbane's team total under 21.5, and that's $1.87 on Ladbrokes and Nets. So that's, of course, Brisbane down in Canberra on Sunday. And you got Canberra fit and fresh, full strength. You got Brisbane still, I don't want to say second string halves, but second choice halves. Okay. And I favor the minor premiers in the capital down there. And I also think it's going to be such a different level of intensity to what we've witnessed in the last few weeks of the comp. Right. So I think points are going to be that hard to come by. We saw how well Brisbane could defend last week when they really needed to against Melbourne. They've got to bottle that up and take it down to Canberra. But if Brisbane defends well, I actually think that lends itself to a lower scoring game and generally doesn't hurt the fact that I've got Brisbane under 21.5. They could score 4 tries and still go under while she's kicking. A little bit hit or miss, although the kid has been on fire, and I am fading Walsh. And I'm not betting this because of the rumor that came out today, the footage of a strained calf. That would be a massive sort of bonus to this bet. But I think it's just Walsh can't escape the headlines. Certainly not counting on that for the Broncos' best bet. But let me know what you think of those when I get a second. I'll put them in the comments. as well. And I'll try and highlight other comments too, guys, and respond to as many as I can. So let's move to, okay, let's talk around 27. I know that like barely anyone cares, and some of these teams aren't playing anymore. But all right, so last minute of the Tuesday show, I said, you know what, that Storm line hasn't moved. Storm's gone as close to full strength as they can. I think they're going to have too much class in Brisbane. I laid 2.5. Like, it's just annoying because I literally added that bet the final minute. Maybe you didn't watch it. Maybe you missed that bit, or you're used to all the best bets being at the front of the show. I'd like to think some people missed it, but when I lose a bet, people tell me that's the only one they played, actually. So look, I was wrong, and Padonis had Brisbane in his multi. Benny Howard had Brisbane as his best bet, and I challenged that. Why would you still make Brisbane your best bet? Now Storm's not resting, but Benny was right. Brisbane too desperate. The defense was awesome. The defense, like, yes, Brisbane scored 30 points, but it was their defense that impressed me the most, as well as Walshy. And I said this all week after the toilet water gate. Of course, he's going to have an absolute blinder. His muscles are recovered like no other. And it was Walshy masterclass. I mean, how many? He had 2 or 3 tries, a couple of assists, kicking them from everywhere, 40-20. Geez, he nearly killed me that night. The other thing I wanted to say as well, I didn't deliberately pick 7 best bets to try and game the system to land on 60%. I genuinely just fired the cannons with everything I like I do every week. And I was actually more concerned. I've got 7 best bets here. Have I been a bit too aggressive? What if I have a horror week and go 1-6 and really damage my season profit and my season percentage? So I really wasn't thinking, like with my abacus, this will get us to exactly 60%. But people started telling me over the weekend, and I did dare to dream, what if we get them all right? But I wasn't confident about the Cronulla game because Serraldo did the wrong thing, played a full-strength side, and we ended up winning that. But Sea Eagles Warriors, try 10 seconds in was insane. I thought Sea Eagles should have won this game by more than 1 point, but for errors, and then Sea Eagles got a lot of injuries second half, so they were just hanging on. Some credit to the Warriors for fighting back. I feel terrible for Benny Williamson. He had his tip of the week was -5.5 with the Sea Eagles, and the Warriors scored on the siren and converted as well. But that on the siren to cover the line, so that was meaningful to some who played the line, that final play. Then Roosters smashed my hopes and dreams. I actually told you the exact recipe for how this would play out. I said you either play Rabbitohs +6.5 first half, or you play Roosters -5.5 second half. And I think it was 10-6 first half, and then a blowout second half. So I never really had any false hope. Roosters remain red hot after, winning 40-0 second half in Melbourne. Had to win those games because they only just finished ahead of the Finns, by 1 win. It wouldn't have got there on points difference either. So it was a must win, and that's what the Roosters did. And then Penrith got a good tune-up against the Dragons. You don't need to say much more than that. Titans comeback win. You could tell it meant a lot to them, and they did actually dodge the spoon. And we had a best bet winner there too. I played Titans overs. I liked the game over. And over 22.5, we got 36 points out of the Titans, and the game went way over as well. And then the beauty of Sharks Bulldogs, I did not feel confident at all. But we had the +0.5 point in both halves, so first half and second half independently. It was 18-0 to Cronulla in the first half. So then I thought, there's no way we'll cover the second half line because Dogs will come back a bit. The second half was actually 6-6, and the only Bulldogs try was a length of the field intercept. So Cronulla was mighty impressive. It was a weird game because once Brisbane had won, they were locked into top 4. So that game meant nothing to either of these teams. The difference was that Cronulla had to prepare all week like it did matter. The Bulldogs knew all along it wasn't going to matter. And maybe that's what helped Cronulla. But there was a bit of carnage out of this game. Obviously, Hines cited, but he's got off. But the Bulldogs losing Montoya and who else? Cherry, right? So 2 outside backs. I think at one point Burton looked like he'd hurt his shoulder as well, but that was just a scare. But it was unnecessary toll on the players, I thought. I said that last week. That's why I wouldn't have named anyone for the Bulldogs. They're the only top 4 team that didn't cop a rest when they could have. I guess Brisbane never could, and Penrith just chose to rest being outside the 4, right? So of the contenders, I don't think the Dogs played this one as well as they could have. And I thought Serrato was peculiar in the post-match presser, sort of saying, "Oh, so glad that game's over. It was such a tricky one." It's like, you put your team in that position. You didn't have to. Then Sunday, I told you the Dolphins were such a great bet. To be honest, one of the reasons I wanted to get out early, because I knew Raiders would play nobody and I knew the Dolphins would smash them whether they needed to win or not. And it was a good celebration of what was a really good season by the Finns. Of course, we can say, oh, if we didn't have as many injuries, we would have won more. But, in saying that, the Roosters were a really good team and they came eighth. So I don't know whose spot we deserve to have. I mean, I'd say the Dolphins are a better team than the Warriors, but the Warriors deserve to be top 8 based on the wins they got earlier this year. So, yeah, the Dolphins had a pretty bad run of injuries and, of course, started 0-4. Like, I knew that week 1 game that got moved last second because of the cyclone, like that, and we lose by 2 points. That it could have cost us top 8 all the way back then. But, ultimately, I choose to be kind of happy about a pretty strong year by the Finns with some good signs for the future. And, it meant nothing for the Raiders. But we won 2 more best bets on this game, of course, though. We had minus 9.5. They won by 40. And we had over 28.5. They scored 62 points, right? They had over 28.5 by halftime. And Matty, the Undertaker, was on the same play, the same team total. So giving you a winner. And I won 6 of my last 6 best bets. Matty, the Undertaker, has won his last 6 best bets as a sharpshooter in the last 6 weeks. That is bloody impressive. Well done, Matty. And we had overs in Eels Knights as well. And I said, hey, even if it's a blowout, the Eels, I said they'll get in the 40s on their own if the Knights don't show up. Well, the Eels got 66. The Knights are a disgrace. This is the same team where Brian said a month ago, 5 weeks ago, this team has no quit in us. They epitomized quitting over the last 5 weeks, and they've been rewarded with a spoon as well. Okay, straight back into finals footy. We put a bow in the regular season. We don't have to talk about any bad teams anymore. If I can, I will shrink my profile. Yep, so you can see more of the lineups. It's Bulldog Storm from Amy Park. Oh, you know what I did want to give you guys as well? Sharpshooters. Shout out to them again, right? And let me just tell you, you know what else? I nearly forgot as well. The last game of the season. How did I forget this? The best winner of them all. Nicole hit at $10 in that Eels Knights game as well. Dury, final regular season it takes for Nicole to hit, but he did only share 7 tips all year. And he got a $10 anytime try scorer, Matt Dury, and it was his first touch of the game. So, speaking of sharpshooters, Benny Howard has given us 5 tips all year. Again, not been able to tip regularly. He's gone 4-1. He had Brisbane head-to-head. He's plus 3 units. Benny Williamson is 9-14, but Benny Williamson has given a lot of plus odds juicy anytime try scorers, like $3 or $4 shots. He lost on the weekend. He's plus 0.2 of a unit. He's basically treaded water, but still plus 0.2 and horror beat on the weekend. Undertaker with his 6-game winning streak, he's 13-11, plus 1.1 units. Padonis is leading the pack. He didn't have a single play. He had a multi that fell in the end with the Dragons, but he gave you like way magnified odds on the Dragons because he got his other legs right. And his thinking was that Penrith might not care too much. But anyway, Padonis plus 7.8 units and 16-6 he is this season. And then Nicole plus 3. He's only 1 from 7, but that's all you need to be when you hit a $10 winner. So all 5 of our sharpshooters are independently in profit this year, along with me. It's had a great, strong, profitable year. Like, that's ridiculous. What show on earth has 6 independent tipsters, and each and every one, no matter who you followed, if you just followed all their tips, you'd be in front. Like, massive tip of the cap to all the boys. And what a, I'll give myself a pat on the back. Great call to bring them all in. But, very grateful to know all those boys and for them to make the time and to contribute to make the show even better. Okay, now we talk about the games that are ahead. Storm Bulldogs, the Dogs are a 5.5-point underdog. This line was 7.5 in the look ahead. That was before the Storm played Brisbane. But after the Storm, with their major casualties lost in Brisbane, that line dropped to minus 3.5. Then, after the Dogs paid the price for risking their top-line troops in a game they didn't need, not going to say I told you so again, the line went down to 3.5 because the Dogs lost a couple. Okay. Let's look at these lineups. Meaney is the fullback. I do love Farlongo, you guys know. The issue is he's had a hamstring issue of his own, or injury of his own. Farlongo's in the reserves alongside Howarth. Possibility of either of them starting, particularly Howarth, I think surely will start. Like, look at Melbourne's three quarters. It's not going to be Grant Anderson and Joe Chan lining up on Friday night. I highly doubt that. The next question we all had was who will replace Hughes, and who, of course, he broke his wrist after coming back from the shoulder last week. And people can question, should he have played? But it's a different injury. Melbourne thought he needed to get a game under his belt. But again, that's what happens in any game. You put your top line players at risk. I heard inclinations Pezzett would start, but Jonah is at 14. Wishy is at halfback. But once again, is that how they're going to line up for sure? Harry Grant for sure will be the 9. Yutu Kamano's back. Bloor remains out as he's injured. For the Dogs, Tuala's going to slide to centre to replace Cherry. And then 2 new wingers required, Harinakama and Wilson. Now, you'd love to have Kiraz, but he's on the extended bench. Serrato did suggest he's still another week away. They do need that Lebanese flyer, but he's got that bad ankle. Then, speaking of flying, looking at the factors, sorry, guys, obviously the threats of not only Coates but Warbrick against these lesser experienced, shorter statured opponents, as much as Ryan says Wilson's a good winger, like that's going to be an issue for the Dogs to contain. And then when you look at the Dogs lineup, they haven't picked a popular player like Sexton or pick Marnie in the starting side. Like, let's say if you wanted to shift Galvin to 6 and then Burton covers your issue you've got in your outside backs, but it's still possible that the Dogs could do that. That's the issue with looking at the lineups. It's not certain that that's actually how it's going to play out. We've seen Critter with this roaming role, trying to add an extra element to the Dogs' attack in finals. Like, that's going to continue. But I've read out what the team lists are now, but the coaches want to keep the opponents guessing, so they're not going to reveal their hand here. So stay tuned to late mail, guys, because especially if you like your try scorer bets, like you'll find out information when people see these teams train. You got Sua looming as could he actually be there at fullback and then Meaney plays centers. Well, what about Munster to fullback again? Melbourne tried it. I'm pretty sure that was the game they beat Penrith, right? You put Munster to fullback. Wishy is a pretty natural 6. Then you play Pezzett at 7, and then you get Meaney, who's like your best defensive center, right? You slide him back there. So that could be a possibility. As for how I see the game playing out, please tell me yourselves who you're picking in this one. Guys, we saw it a month ago, same venue, decided by 6 points, near miss by the Dogs to level up. And the line was 6.5. We got the plus 6.5 that night. And I see it similarly. I mean, I think both these sides are a bit under the radar. Look at Melbourne. People want to write them off. They've been bad the last 2 weeks, but they already knew they'd secured top 2 in the last final pair of games. And Grant didn't play in either of those either. And look at who the Storm had to play. Roosters in a must-win, Brisbane in a must-win. That's 2 pretty good opponents as well. So I'm not writing off Melbourne, that's for sure. And then you look at the Dogs, and they've also more or less known they'd come third in the last 3 weeks. So when you just don't have as much to play for as other teams, you're not going to look that good. And I think people have been looking for reasons to knock Canterbury ever since the Galvin move, honestly. Canterbury are still an elite defensive side, best defense in the competition all year. Storm are number 2 in that ranking. I said it before. That's why I've played under 38.5, okay? We've all seen a bit of flamboyant footy in recent weeks from other teams that didn't have much to play for. This is going to be a different brand. The refs don't want to over-enforce it, so defenses get away with a bit more. Then you've got disruption to the Melbourne spine and to the outside backs of the Dogs. Now, you can tell me disruption affects defensive errors as well, but I just see anything but a shootout in Storm Dolphins again. Dogs again. This is no laughing matter. If I sound like I'm about to laugh, it's obviously because I'm trying to hold back a cough or a coughing fit. But that's why I'm playing unders. A couple of our sharpshooters are weighing in on the first game as well. So let's see who they like.
Hey everyone, it's Nicole from Wiki. We had Matt Dury crash over and win a tip for us on the pod last week at $9.50 Well, our tip this week is exactly the same price. Lockie Galvin, Bet365, $9.50, up against Storm. It is a tough matchup, but I reckon he'll get a shitload of touches, and I think fair price for him, it would be around $6 or $7. I reckon that's the price we'll see on most bookies, so I love the price of $9.50 for Lockie Galvin to score a try on Bet365. Separately, guys, Google Wiki Linktree, you'll find our Discord with over 5,000 people, our odds comparison tools, our new mobile app. It is all free, all in the same place, so check it out there. Good luck for the weekend. Enjoy the footy, punt responsibly, and I'll catch you next week.
Congrats to Nicole again. I was literally talking to him on the phone this week, and I said, "You're gonna hit, man. Just don't forget to send me a clip because I don't want you to finish the season on a duck egg. You just need a few more shots. You're gonna hit." And I told you guys all season long, like Nicole was the only guy not in profit, but it's hard when you're not tipping every week and you're going for long shots. I knew it was only a matter of time. And Nicole called it as well. He said to me, last game, like low stakes, good weather, lots of tries. I backed overs in a couple of the games that didn't really matter, and Nicole hit it. So happy for him. He was pumped, and he's giving you a juicy one there. And Galvin, like what a storyline that would be too. Undertaker, probably something more conventional. Let's have a listen.
G'day guys, Matty here. Off 6 winners in a row. We're finding form at the right end of the season. My bet of the week, I'm going to go Melbourne Storm, Bulldogs, first half total under 19.5. It's $1.90 on TAB. Looking at the team list, both these teams are missing a lot of strike players. It's also a finals game. It's also a night game. It's also two defensive teams, especially the Bulldogs. I don't see where 4 tries are coming from. I mean, they can score 3 with 3 conversions and a penalty goal, but chances are that there's going to need to be 4 tries to beat us, and I don't see it based on team list. So good luck. That's what we'll go with.
So Matty likes unders as well, and he's got first half under, but I certainly want it to be low scoring to lead the way. So great chance for us to both hit there. I'm glad Matty sees it similar. So if you're asking me about a side, I mean, that's what I said before. I'd be inclined to bet both if they had different opponents potentially, because I think that neither team is as highly rated by the public as potentially they deserve to be against each other. I think obviously Melbourne's got to be a favourite at home, more experienced, and with that aerial edge, it is worth 4 to 6 points. Grant coming back in, right? And I say this every year, but winning is everything in these top 4 clashes. Okay, the winner of this game gets 2 weeks off, will be at home and in a prelim facing somebody that's been through a war the week before. Do you know what the loser of this game gets? Probably the Penrith Panthers, right? So you can actually go to the other side of the draw of Penrith as well. So it's just like it's all to play for. And just because I think the line should be 4 to 6 points, like obviously it's anyone's game and I can't wait for it. And speaking of the Penrith Panthers, the reigning 4 by premiers, let's scroll down to New Zealand, Go Media Stadium, 4 p.m. on Saturday afternoon. The Panthers are a 9.5 point favourite. I've seen it 10.5 in places too. For the hosts first, Rocco Berry's out, so Capewell shifts to centre. Halasima then gets a starting second row spot. Egan and Ford are back. Healy unable to retain a bench spot, as exciting as he's been. Penrith welcoming To'o and Martin from extended break. Kenny is out, so Summerton is your hooker. Alamotti is chosen over Milky Jenkins on the wing. And look, the Warriors showed a bit of spirit at Fourth Pines, as I said before. Penrith getting at that tune-up over the Dragons. But this, I'll tell you why this is a tricky game for me. Because everyone thinks Penrith will win. And I assume, tell me in the comments, I want to know, do you think Penrith wins big? And I also want to know, how far do you guys all see Penrith going? Is there anyone out there saying Penrith will be gone within the first 2 weeks of the finals? Like they'll lose to a top 4 side next week, if not this week. Is there, do you think they'll make a prelim only? You're tipping them to get to a grand final. Tell me who's tipping them to make it 5 comps in a row, right? So we know everyone thinks they'll win this week. And look, I kind of would like to go against a really public team, but I've watched New Zealand closely. They've run out of gas in the last few weeks. New Zealand controlled their top 4 destiny and came perilously close to beating the Eels. Remember that game? And when the Wars lost cruelly, I said, I don't think New Zealand will win again this year, and I still don't. So if I had to bet this game, I could only play the Panthers. Too much class, too much experience. And I look at New Zealand. Can they come up with the points against an elite defense? I don't see the polish in attack. And can New Zealand hold Penrith out for prolonged periods? I don't think the Warriors are as tough defensively at this point in time as they were earlier in the year. And it makes sense because, I mean, you've lost your enforcer too and your co-captain in Barney, as well as I just think the Warriors have just lost a little bit of that pep in the step. Now, of course, home crowd is going to be outstanding. The atmosphere will be unreal. You hope that keeps the home team in it. But, I mean, Penrith's already won at this venue. And I know it doesn't work that way because Penrith already won with no Origin players. There's certainties with Origin players. But I don't see Penrith sputtering like I am right now. Again, I'm sorry. I'm very sick. So I don't see Penrith choking like I sound like I might here. So, look, $1.30, pretty viable multi-leg. I would consider -9.5, but I'm not going to lay the faves with the most obvious pick of the weekend of all the 8 teams. Leave that to Joe and Jim at the pub. Padonis's pick is on this game. I haven't seen his clip like always, so very intrigued to see how he sees it.
Hey guys, Padonis here. Hope you're all safe and well. After a fantastic regular season, ready to rock for the finals. Lines get tighter, markets are sharper, so got to be a little bit selective on what plays we do take advantage of. Found one edge this week that I think the bookies have got a little bit wrong. And we're going to go with an underdog on Saturday. The Warriors at +10.5. That's $1.90 on Ladbrokes and Neds. Also available on Sportsbet, $1.82. Just think that this is a kitchen sink spot for the Warriors. I know that the market's off them. Everyone's riding high in Penrith. They'll probably win the game, but the Warriors are going to give it their all. They're going to show out here. I think it's their strongest lineup that they've put on the park in a while. They get back Egan and Jackson Ford. I like that there's some familiarity with the Penrith boys there with Fisher Harris and Webster. I think that the Warriors can contain them in what's going to be parochial crowd there in Auckland. I think the line's a little bit too big. I had this closer to 7.5 to 8. And to get a 10.5 advantage in playoffs, I think it's something that we've got to take advantage of. Good luck, gamble responsibly.
Respect to the Padonis for just having the stones to take the ugliest duckling of the weekend. It's one of those things you might not go on the weekend wanting to bet New Zealand, but if in your mind the line should be 7.5, 8, it comes out 10.5. Like at some point it forces your hand, and it's exactly the same for me, I suppose. If it got high enough, I'd have to take the Warriors. But for me, I'd need it a little higher still. But Padonis has given you his reasons, and I said before, he's 16-6. I love that he's gone for that brave pick and bucking the popular side. Then later Saturday night, Shark Park, right? Cronulla Roosters. The Roosters are the slight favourite, -1.5. Sharks fans, you've all got a scare. But we know Nico is free to play, and Tricky Trindle is also back after just 1 week out with his ankle injury. So Atkinson goes to 18. Nicker is in the reserves, but he's served his suspension, so he should be a certainty. The Roosters go same 17 that's been playing finals footy last 2 weeks. I love that we just get a genuine coin toss game, elimination footy. It's not the first time these sides have met in a big finals game either. Remind me of the year, guys. I'll never forget the game, but the years do blend together. But the Roosters pinched that result a couple of years ago down in Cronulla. I remember Teddy got sin binned. The Sharkies should have put him away. Roosters hung in there. I think that came down to a field goal. You know, it could be a similar story this weekend. The other thing I meant to look up, so I can give you guys homework. If anyone watching right now, I'd love to be able to quote this stat live. What is the Sharks' finals record since they won the comp in 2016? So how have the Sharks gone in finals games from 2017 onwards? I'm going to say, I'm going to guess that they're 1-6. Well, you know, and that's ballpark. They could have lost more than 6 finals games in the last 9 years because they have been top 4 a couple of times, actually. So it could be 1-8. I mean, 2 wins at absolute maximum, I reckon the Sharks have won in the finals. Ryan says 2-5. So in my mind, would I say 1-6 or worse? In my mind, it's even more extreme than that. But it hasn't been sort of happy hunting in the finals for the Sharkies since that magical run, right? So that they need to sort of prove it. Fitzgibbon needs take a couple of scalps. Nico needs this opportunity as well. And I did think the Sharks showed a bit on Saturday night in the fact that their pack stood over the Dogs, which was a little bit surprising, just because a little bit out of the blue. But it shows you what Cronulla's capable of. The Dogs have a good forward pack. I look at the Roosters as a team with a bit more spark. It's a tough one to pick. So please tell me how you guys see it, so I can show some of your comments as well, guys. But that's why it's hard to split these teams. Just like the previous evening, we'll be looking to the skies clearly with Tupou and Nwonga leaping, on fifth tackle for kicks all night, and how Cronulla contains that's going to be key. And you look at Teddy. I thought my man Katoa was going to win the Dally M this year, but probably didn't pay enough attention to just how dominant Teddy's also been in the Roosters run. So, you got Teddy there, big game player. You got Walker being the best half in this match. Robinson, people doubt Robinson, I suppose, because it's been a few years since they've contended. But he's still sort of the master versus the apprentice here with Fitzy, because Fitzy was under Robbo, and Fitzy's never achieved as a coach what he did as a player. But it's a great chess match anytime these sides hook up. I think most people are going to pick the Roosters. I think they are possibly a little bit better than Cronulla, but then when you add in home ground, if you bet Cronulla, you get the +1.5, and it could be that close. I think the Sharks have every chance here. And I look at the Sharks bench. You got 3 powerful props and Talakai. So I feel like if the Sharkies can stem the flow early, because the Tricolours will come with that power start, then their Sharkies have a real chance to win. Now, I said, what's the Sharks finals record since in the last 9 years? Is it 1-6? Is it 1-8? Someone told me it's 2-5, but now Zane says it's 1 from last 9. So that would be 1-8. So now we need a fact checker, guys. So tell us when the Sharkies have won finals games. Well, I know they did make the prelim last year, right? So they did win week 2 last year after losing in week 1, I'm pretty certain. So then you're telling me that was their only win at week 2 last year? I know there was that other year, I think the first year Nico was there, they lost in Golden Point to the Cowboys in a wild one, and then went out in straight sets, I think, to Souths the following week. So anyway, that just goes back to the narrative that Cronulla has underperformed in finals. People are going to doubt them until they prove the doubters wrong. The Sharkies have an opportunity to do that, like Luke says in the comments. They are flat track bullies. Last year when they smoked the Cowboys, and then Zane reckons you got to go back to 2018 since to find another Sharks finals win, and that was against Penrith. And I'm pretty sure that was a crazy game too, with a 18-point comeback, and Cronulla won by 1 or 2 points there. So opportunity to chalk up a win in front of your home fans. You got to play it at your local ground as well, Cronulla. The reason I haven't tipped it, guys, is because I think it could be Chooks by a Walker field goal. I think Roosters -1's probably bang on. But I have got a clip from Benny Howard. And while he is a Roosters fan, we've got to always disclose that. You've still got to listen to what he has to say, because he's 80% on his tip of the week for 2 years running now. And he beat me head-to-head last week as well. So let's give Benny Howard the final word.
The next bet will be in Canberra. We got the Raiders versus the Broncos. I'm going to go back again and take the Broncos. I just feel like they are probably the form.
Okay, so I'll tell you what happened there. Benny has sent me 2 clips that are both 42 seconds. I thought he sent me the same clip twice, but he's actually, obviously they were both must have been 42 seconds, and he actually sent 2 tips. So look, let's listen to his tip on Canberra, because Canberra Broncos is the next game. And then meanwhile, behind the scenes, I'll see if I can bring up his Roosters tip.
The next bet will be in Canberra. We got the Raiders versus the Broncos. I'm going to go back again and take the Broncos. I just feel like they are probably the form side of the comp at the moment. Reece Walsh is in, career best form. Ben Hunt has got a point to prove with that grand final he lost for the Broncos a while back when he dropped the ball. So I just feel like, the Broncos they're just a better side. The Canberra are probably a bit overrated. I feel like finishing first place with that easy draw has made everyone the public over favour them, where I think this would be probably closer to a sort of pick 'em at even with the home field advantage for the Raiders. So gamble responsibly.
Okay, it's going to be too hard to get Benny's other clips. I apologize, but I was sort of listening to Benny's other clip while I was playing you that one. And if I could summarize it like really crudely, he said that he just thinks the Roosters are the better side, like closer to top 4 level side, more talent. And Benny's other tip is Roosters head to head, $1.87. Okay, so that's who he's got on Saturday night, and then into Broncos on Sunday at GIO. Let's roll our graphic into that one, the last one to cover. I said I'll talk a little premiership odds. Anything else you guys want to after this game as well? So why didn't I take Roosters straight up? Yeah, I might have just said that I think they might win by 1, but that's not enough of an advantage to me. If I thought the Roosters sort of would win by, 4 or more, then I could play Roosters head-to-head at $1.80. $1.80 is what? Risking 12 to win 10 type thing, like you've got to have a bit of an edge in your advantage. You can't just think you're going to win it by a slight margin. Okay, so Raiders Broncos line is plus 2.5. Raiders are the favorite. So Ricky whinged. He was appeased. He got this game on a Sunday. The Raiders, of course, bringing back their 11 fit players. Papali'i is named despite he reportedly hurt his ankle at training. For the Broncos, Reynolds still out, or perhaps just not risked. Madge has gone same team, essentially, that got the job done over Storm, although Shibasahi gets a recall, and then Mariner shifts to wing and Arthur's to 18th man. And you got the Walsh calf scare, but I'm not really factoring that into the line here. Always some drama around Walshy. It follows him. Let me know who you guys have in this one. Raiders, Broncos as well. It's a belter to end the first week of finals. I'll tell you now, I think Canberra wins. And it's not to do with the fact that Canberra did win this game in round 2 at the same venue. That feels like a lifetime ago. It's, for me, what I said at the start of the show, freshness matters. It's ironic that Ricky whinged about the turnover advantage to Brisbane, because the Raiders, not only did they rest everyone important last week, the Raiders have enjoyed 2 byes since round 20. And if you look at some of the games the Raiders have played in the last couple of months, they've barely had to get out of third gear in several of them as well. The Raiders are virtually full strength, as opposed to Brisbane. As good as these halves have gone, you don't have your starting halves. Willison, someone mentioned him in the comments, is a big loss as well. Or just, it would be such a strength to have Haas and Carrigan and Willison rolling in as your third prop in off the bench, right? So that's an absolute strength that's reduced a little bit. It's not I'm trying to fade Brisbane. They obviously beat me last week. I see it's all coming together for Brisbane. I see Walsh in 2023 form. I wasn't poking the bear saying, Walsh is not going to deliver this week. Like, Walsh has stepped it up massively since they lost Mam and Reynolds. And he frightens me for sure. And then on top of that, you got the best defensive effort of the year by Brisbane last week, right? But the thing is, the Raiders are just so hard to beat. They're so fast, they're physical, and they're very fit. And people may question, can Jamal win them a big game? And look, Fogarty had some misses against Penrith. I get it. But people say this Raiders side is so young, but there's still a decent amount of experience there, players that have played rep. Or, obviously you look at the likes of Tapane, Papali, Huddy Young's been in there a while now. And these guys have gotten some experience in big games. Like, they would have got a bit out of that Penrith win. They've learnt sort of as they've gone. Ricky himself is part of that veteran leadership, I would say. And then have I got, superstars? Yes, I got game breakers like Strange and KO Weeks there. And I think an advantage no one's talking about too is the hooker rotation of Starling and Paddy. Their form this year, that's an advantage over Brisbane. Of course, Brisbane had a phenomenal 1-2 punch and hooker. But the problem is those two players are in the halves now. And not to say that Brisbane doesn't have good hooking depth there, but it's not a strength like it was. I don't need to repeat all the importance I said before about, winning this game is the key to winning the comp. I just don't see anybody losing in week 1 of the finals and then winning the comp. I really feel like that 14-day turnaround, the home prelim. Imagine Brisbane. Like, you'd back Brisbane against anyone just about if they get 2 weeks off and get to play at Suncorp in a prelim, right? Whereas Brisbane, I just don't see Brisbane going around the long way and winning it. And they're capable. We'll bring up the premiership odds. There's 5 or 6 genuine chances to win the premiership this year, especially after those Storm injuries, and that's really exciting for everyone, especially neutrals. So for this game, just to put a bow on it, if the line was 1.5, I would just play Raiders minus 1.5. But because I also like unders, that's why I'm going to play Brisbane's team total under 21.5 there. And same thing, I think the style and 2 very good defensive teams as well. It's not going to be as open as you may anticipate on a dry track afternoon game. It's still going to be tight just because of the intensity and capability of both sides defensively. So let's bring up the premiership odds to round out the show. And let me know who you guys like as well. Canberra are favourites now, right? They're $1.70 favourite to win, and then they'd get home prelim, and it would be potentially against like a Penrith or a Canterbury or a Melbourne, which is a very tough game, but it would be at home. And it would be with the rest advantage. Melbourne, it's just key for Melbourne to try and win this week, and they are $1.50 home favourite, and then dodge Penrith too, and then play a home prelim against someone like Canberra or Brisbane, or the Roosters, I suppose, or the Sharks. And then as for Brisbane, again, what I just said, they've got to get that win this weekend, and that goes for the Bulldogs too. There's no way, especially the Bulldogs who chose not to rest in round 27. The Bulldogs have to get the rest in week 2 of the finals. All right. Someone said, do you see any value here? I reckon if anything was jumping out at me, I actually wonder if the Bulldogs are a little long. Just because if the Bulldogs get the upset against Melbourne and you've got a few players out, if the Bulldogs get the upset, then suddenly you're going to think, well, geez, they've got the best defense in the comp. They're not on the same side of the draw as Melbourne or Penrith. And they've got like someone like Canberra or Brisbane coming to Sydney who had to play the week before as well. So probably for value, Bulldogs, but it's just like I love the fact that you can make a case for anyone in the top 4, and then you can make a case for Penrith too, $7.50 there, because it is pretty likely they'll win this week, and then they'd play the loser of Storm Bulldogs, and whoever that loses, that's going to be licking their wounds. And of course, Penrith's capable, and Penrith have already given themselves a freshen up. Often you think a team can't win from outside the 4 because they've already worked so hard to get there, but Penrith did work hard mid-year and won like 9 or 10 in a row, but then Penrith have cantered to the finish line to set up this premiership push. Again, Bulldogs, of course, anyone in the top 4 can win. I know some people will say, oh, Canterbury, for whatever reason, like aren't classy enough. If you can defend and to keep any team to 2 or 3 tries, like don't worry about the fact that they were blown out by Cronulla. That was a meaningless game. I know people will always point to inexperience, but all of these teams have some experienced players and some big game players, and other young guys, can get experience out of a tight finals win, and that can go a long way. Maybe we haven't seen a really inexperienced team win a comp very often, but I mean, Penrith in 2020, they were pretty inexperienced. They got all the way to the grand final, so there's no reason why someone like this year that couldn't be Canberra or the Bulldogs. They have had a really good year. And then the Roosters are pretty hot as well. At $12, I don't like the value there because they'll have to win 4 in a row. I don't think the maths sort of shakes out. I think you'd be better off sort of playing the Roosters each week and rolling your winnings over. And I hate to say it, but I do write off the Warriors. I don't think the Sharks are going to win 4 in a row, but the Sharks are capable of upsetting somebody. And I'm not really calling the Roosters game an upset because that's pick 'em, right? But the Sharks could easily win that, obviously, at 50-50. And then the Sharks can beat like a Brisbane or a Canberra the following round. I mean, the Sharkies had a good win over Brisbane, a good lead over Brisbane in earlier this year in Brisbane, and I'll take the odds off the screen now. And of course, go back earlier in the year, one of the crazy finishes of the season was Cronulla in Canberra, where Cronulla nearly had that game 1-2. None of us realised how good the Raiders were at that time. So I don't even write off Cronulla. Like, I wouldn't be shocked if Cronulla made the grand final, put it that way. And obviously everyone above them has an even better chance. So it's so beautifully poised and set up, and I can't wait for it. So I hope you've enjoyed the finals preview. A couple of best bets on the line with 60% this season. I did say I was trying to put together an extra special show this week, but just because I've been so crook, I'm going to have to, maybe push that later in the finals. So this is my one and only appearance. Oh, the other one is everyone's asking me about NFL. I love the NFL. It's back this week. There's been some ripper games yesterday. There were a handful of games before yesterday, and there was a game today too. But people ask me about whether I'm doing content. Unfortunately, I do the rugby league stuff for free. I'm seeing it through, and but at this stage, I can't commit to any NFL content. And Neddy's in the same boat. He's got growing family, a lot of work commitments. Him and I, it's same situation there, and so he's unable to commit to it. And I think Neddy's done Neddy Given Sunday for 10 years. It's sad to see it end. And again, I appreciate your support, guys. Please keep supporting the TryPod so that it doesn't have to end. And by supporting, I mean comments, hitting like, giving a review if you've enjoyed it this season, right? Subscribing, like all those little things. You'll never know if the difference you made is the difference for the show to return next year, because it could be touch and go. So I appreciate you. Hopefully you appreciate the show as well. Have a great week. Enjoy your finals footy. See you next Tuesday. And Lego.